Welcome, everybody. Thanks for coming. Thanks to our partners from the AV industry for bringing some show and tell here for us today. We're going to start off with Director of Mobility and Infrastructure, Karina Ricks.
Thank you, and thanks for being here. This is a really important and exciting event for us. Many of you have heard about and perhaps have covered the rising trend of pedestrian deaths that have been reported lately. This is really something that we don't want to see. This is trending in the wrong direction. So the timing couldn't be more correct to talk about this initiative that we're rolling out here in the city of Pittsburgh, which we hope will be a model around the world, where we are talking about how can we really partner with and work with our autonomous vehicle industry to understand what this technology is, bring these three pillars of the industry, public sector, and private residents together to understand what this technology is, how this can benefit us, and really bring it for the betterment of the future so that we can improve safety, we can improve opportunity, and we can improve the outcomes for not only our city, but for all residents across the country. So we're going to let the mayor talk a little bit about this executive order that we're signing today, and then we'll hear from some of our industry partners, and then I'll come back and talk about the guidelines that we're also releasing today to actually bring this executive order into being right now today. So, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Director. First off, I just want to thank Director Ricks. When we thought about creating a Department of Mobility and Infrastructure, it was exactly for this purpose, to be able to have one department that can look at a 19th century roadway system and determine ways that we can build it out for the 21st century. Somebody that would have the expertise of understanding the critical components of streetscape improvements and multi-mobility, but also have an understanding of where the future can take us and how Pittsburgh can be a leader. We are poised now as one of just a handful of cities around the world that are recognized as being leaders in a brand new industry of autonomous vehicles. But it isn't a new industry. It is an industry that Carnegie Mellon has been working at for over 20 years. But what has happened with the investment of the companies that are represented here is that the work that has been done for those 20 years has been amplified to a global basis. In an understanding of those that work within the automotive industry, within the autonomous realm, understand now that Pittsburgh is on par with Singapore, with Gothenburg, Sweden, with Tel Aviv, Israel. Is Silicon Valley, Austin, and Boston, we are now recognized as one of the leaders. And over the past 4 years, just in the past 4 years, industry has employed over 2,000 people, investing nearly $4 billion into our region. And this is just the beginning. So the question is, how do we build an industry for all? How do we build an industry that will take into account the challenges of climate change and actually be able to address the issues in order to make mobility more efficient and more equitable? And how do we incorporate the P4 principles of people, planet, place, and performance so that an industry and the city that it is being born in have the opportunity at the beginning to make a difference? You think about the history of this city and how we led the world before in heavy industry and steel and manufacturing. And you think about the outcomes that came out of that. Air that was dangerous to breathe, water that was poisonous to drink, and the greatest disparity between the haves and the have-nots, between those that worked in the mines and the mills and those that owned them. What we want to be able to do is work hand in hand with the autonomous automobile industry to create a leading city once again, the city of Pittsburgh being a leader of an industry, but addressing those challenges at the beginning in order to minimize the negative impacts later on. The work of this document goes beyond this document. It calls for a partnership that is built just as every good partnership of Pittsburgh has been built. A partnership that's built on trust, a partnership that's built on a clear understanding of mission and of shared values. And if we can work with this industry and be able to put together this type of an agreement that will help to steer both the industry itself and the cooperation with government. There's no saying what we can do with other industries in the future. I see this, Director, not only as an opportunity for cities to work with emerging industries on autonomous vehicles. I see this as a way that cities around this world can work with emerging industries, period. And thank you for your work. I got a clap? Thanks.
So you're probably wondering what's in the executive order. So I'll tell you. There's 4 components of the executive order that the mayor is going to sign. One is to designate a single point of contact for sort of the clearinghouse and working with the autonomous vehicle industry. So that will be the Department of Mobility and Infrastructure. Secondly, the order instructs the department to create a set of guidelines to guide testing operations that occur here in the city, and includes a range of different information that needs to be included in those guidelines. Thirdly, it instructs our partners here to respect those guidelines and be a part of that with the city. And fourthly, it requires the department to advance a series of policies so that we can be ready for this technology as it emerges, so that it will be in service to our city, and that we then report back publicly on no less than an annual basis to the public in progress and learnings, lessons learned along those lines, so that we can start to demystify this technology, so that we can start to bring the public along with us and with our industry partners for the betterment of the city. So I don't know if any of our partners want to say anything. I'll let them say a few words of their experience in this as soon as I get this out of this.
All right, thanks. This is Jun Qingwei from Aptiv. I serve as the VP of Engineering for the Autonomous Vehicle Division in Aptiv. So first, I want to thank Mayor Peduto and Director Ricks for giving us the opportunity to be here. And we are very excited to be part of the commitment to future mobility. So you know, Aptiv, like many other companies on the table, we have a very strong heritage in Pittsburgh. So in 2013, a few professors, PhD students, and engineers from CMU started a company called Automatica. And the small startup has become Aptiv's Pittsburgh Technology Center. Right now, we have over 200 employees, and we have been safely developing our technology for the last 6 years, and we'll continue to work with the local community to bring this technology to the world. Aptiv has a global footprint. So you know, we also have offices in Singapore, in Boston, and in Las Vegas, but Pittsburgh is of its great importance, actually. So the technology started here, and of course, we want to test our technology in different environments, different weather conditions. You know, we have lots of snow and raining weathers in Pittsburgh, and we want to test it in different traffic conditions and infrastructure setups. So this will help us to scale up our product globally. And we are already voluntarily complying with the PennDOT's AV testing guidelines, and we really look forward to be compliant with the city's guidance as well. Yeah, thank you.
Hi, I'm Pete Rander. I'm president at Argo AI. Honored to be here and thrilled to be able to partner with the city really in doing something that really supports, I think, the community and Argo's mission. You know, Argo is trying to bring self-driving technology to increase safety and accessibility, affordability, and convenience for all. I think those shared values that you talked about, Mr. Mayor, exactly line up with what we're trying to do. To be responsible in doing that means we want to work together. We're sharing the shared space of the roadways together. Let's do the right thing. Let's participate together, and let's really advance this technology in a way that can truly bring all the benefits that we all desire, while, as you said, avoiding the risks and the downsides that we have. For me personally, this is super exciting because when I moved to Pittsburgh Pittsburgh in '91, moved into the Robotics Institute, got a chance to be working with some of the most brilliant giants really in the field to learn the technologies and develop this, and to be able to have stayed in Pittsburgh as part of this really industrial renaissance moves to a 21st century view of that in the technology space just lines up with me personally. I know for Brian and me and for all of Argo, Brian also coming into the robotics space here, to be able to do this in Pittsburgh, to really grow this, to have this be our home is just an incredible honor, and we're thrilled to be here. Thank you.
I'm Kobe Brooklyn. I'm the VP of Communications at Aurora, and thank you so much for having us today, and thank you for partnering with us and continuing to move forward with driving this technology through Pittsburgh. We think Pittsburgh's a really important home for Aurora, and we think engaging with our community and educating our community is a really important part of this process, so we thank you for partnering with us on that.
Thank you. My name is Raj Kumar. I'm a professor at Carnegie Mellon University. First of all, let me thank Mayor Peduto and Director Rex for their leadership, their vision, and the initiative to bring this set of companies and people around this table to establish what I think is a brilliant example of how a city can actually work with companies in bringing forth, advancing the new technologies. This technology over time will probably be worth multiple $1 trillion a year. And then, so we could be the hub. Pittsburgh, I'm proud to say, is a birthplace of this technology, literally dating back to 1983, as Junqing was pointing out. I guess all the entities behind us now actually have very strong roots in Pittsburgh and Carnegie Mellon. So this executive order being signed today, the guidelines being put in place, will basically advance the relationship between companies and how the city wants to advance its the vision of various kinds of benefits, if you will, for mobility of different kinds, the environment and such. So I think this these guidelines walk this very fine line between making sure that the public are safe and at the same time advancing the technology that needs to be tested in under real-world conditions, if you will. So looking forward to working with the city, with the DOMI. Thank you again for the opportunity.
Thanks, Raj. Thanks, Director Hicks, Mayor Peduto. I'm Eric Mayhofer. I'm the head of Uber's Advanced Technology Group, which is where we do all of our self-driving. And at Uber, we believe that self-driving technology has the potential to transform how the world works. The city's partnership throughout this process is a great model for how developers and government stakeholders can and should work together to safely develop this self-driving technology. Like Mayor Peduto and his leadership team, we want to make sure self-driving development works for all of Pittsburgh. This starts with sharing information about our development activities with the community. We look forward to continued conversation at both local and state levels to safely test our technology, and we appreciate the opportunity to collaborate with both the city and all of our friends who are here with us today.
I get to sign it.
Well, I'd ask if you guys could come out around me. I wore the double-breasted suit because I wanted that David Lawrence type picture where, you know, everyone's sitting around and standing there as we do this. James, what's today's date?
Today is the March 4th.
It's in order.
4th.
It's the only day of the year that's in order. March 4th.
Oh, pretty cool.
March. Thank you, guys. Now the fun part, underneath one of your chairs is a penny taped to your seat, and if you win, you get to take home with you. I was waiting for you to check, Bob.
Just one minute more. Is that, well, having been so ordered by the executive order, we have crafted, and you, those of you in the media can take with you, the outline of the autonomous vehicle testing guidelines and submission process for Pittsburgh. So Among the many things that are included here are information about the companies that are testing. We have 5 companies represented today. Most of them start with an A. We're looking forward to filling out the rest of the alphabet between A and U. But we do anticipate that there will be more companies. The companies represented here have been tremendous partners in helping us understand the industry, understanding the limitations of the industry, understanding precisely where the technology is at present and where what it needs to learn to become the opportunity that we think it is. And so these guidelines apply not only to these 5 companies, but to the many more that we anticipate will eventually find their way to Pittsburgh. Perhaps we won't be San Jose with some 40-odd companies there, but we do anticipate that there will be more. And so the practice that is set here today is very important to our city. It includes certain data gathering that will help us actually guide public policy and learn from these companies, as well as reporting what their safety protocols are and reporting any deviations that, again, are important to know from the public safety. One other thing that's critically important and unique in the Pittsburgh process, which is common for us, is that these guidelines also expect that the companies will acknowledge and respect the shared and autonomous mobility principles that this city has developed. We have had a working group going on for the past year that involves a number of different stakeholders from many different walks of life who've crafted these shared and autonomous mobility principles that speak to the values of us as a city. As the mayor has articulated, we do adhere to the P4 principles of people, planet, place, and performance. These 10 principles and the membership group that's on the back that you can look at reflect the deliberation of this diverse body of Pittsburghers, of the different dimensions of our community, and the direction that we really want to take this technology in order to serve our values and the critical things that we want to preserve for our city. So these are available. And then lastly, we also have a policy partners group, and some of our policy partners are here, which involves bringing together different governmental agencies from the state level, the regional level, the local level, the county level, to talk about what this means, again, so that we can craft informed policy for the people of the city. So these are available for you to take, and I want to thank again our partners and the mayor, as always, for his leadership. Questions? Tim, are you going to facilitate it?
Hi. If any of the industry partners fail to fulfill any of the expectations, is there any sort of penalty or enforcement the executive order outlines to encourage collaboration?
So the executive order just states that it expects the respect for these guidelines. We believe that we will get partnership from the industry. Learning on our public streets is something that helps both sides in this, and so it doesn't outline any penalties at this point. We don't want to start on that foot, but believe that this will be something that we'll find mutual benefit in doing.
Is there another system in place to kind of verify the information that's sharing is accurate, or is this kind of a Scouts Honor system?
Just like sales taxes, it's a bit of a Scouts Honor system. So again, we don't believe that there's any reason to alter the data. We do have Carnegie Mellon is present here, who we think will help advise us if we're seeing anything that is substantially off of what we would expect otherwise. But remember that this is still a technology that is developing, and so again, we're all co-learning in this. And
I just want to add something real quick because Director Ricks is being humble. The group here put together something that doesn't exist. There wasn't another city that we could just say, let's adopt what Portland, Oregon has done. The closest that we had was Boston, which Boston just took the state rules and made them the local rules. Trying to understand the dimensions that come at a local level as compared to a state level are vastly different in the concerns. And there was a lot of give and take from all sides. Proprietary interests of industry, requests of what would be expected in return for use of public right-of-way. And it worked out at the very end where everybody came together and realized we had gotten to a point where this will be basically the foundation in which to build it from. What the future looks like is hard to say. As we move into sensor detection and other technology, the information that we're gathering may be more valuable than the information that we're requesting from these companies. And having that two-way street would allow for the potential of this industry to grow exponentially. So we want to be working together as we work in this field. And what this document does is provide that foundation to build it from a very good place.
Mayor Grina, was it a fear of secrecy? Was it a concern over safety? What prompted the executive order in the first place? What led you to get to this point where you said, listen, it's about public honesty and public trust? What particular thing was it, or was it a multitude of items?
It was definitely a multitude of items. I think that the more that we're seeing this industry grow on our city streets, the more that we felt it was important for the city to play an active partnership role, that we work for the public, we are the advocates for the public, that it's important for us to ourselves both understand the technology and the activities that are happening, but also to help translate that to the public so that we can work together and understand this. So this is something that's rising. I think that we would have been remiss not to really have a public policy there around it. Particularly as we know that we have these 5 known players who have been, frankly, very good partners to the city. As we see more arise in this area, as we see perhaps spin-offs or new entrants or others, it was very important to get this going on the right foot with trusted partners that we can move forward with and set the tone for any other entrants into the market.
I just wanted to be clear. You talked about the guidelines, the specific guidelines. Have they already been developed, or are things like speed limit, which I know the mayor talked about, and things specific, or have those yet to come?
So the guidelines are here. It's the guidelines for testing. Remember, this isn't, there's lots more evolution of this technology and the application of it yet to come in the city streets. So right now, this just talks about when you test in our city, how are we going to work together in that testing? How are we going to have transparency between us? How are we going to have regular communications? How are we going to respond in the case of any kinds of safety breaches that go on? So this is really about testing, not the permanent application of the technology. With regard to speed limits, the autonomous vehicle testers, just like any of us in the room, are expected to adhere to all traffic rules, including speed limits.
You said that the Department of Mobility and Infrastructure will have one point of contact for the companies in CMU, and that there would be a publicly available report every year. What exactly is that communication process going to look like, and what is the report going to tell the public?
The report will summarize what we've learned in the past year, sort of a state of the practice, if you will, presented from the public standpoint. So as we continue dialogues, as we see the evolution of the industry, as we see trends arising, we'll put that forward so that the public has that same information. The department is the general point of contact. There's not necessarily a single point of contact within the department nor a single point of contact within the companies, but just so that they know what their entry point into the departments are.
Are they going to have to report like quarterly back to you?
So the guidelines articulate that they would report every 6 months. That's consistent with what the PennDOT state guidelines also suggest, although they'll be reporting at a somewhat finer grain level than the state level reporting information.
Last question from Bill.
In September, the city got a grant from the Knight Foundation to study the policies around self-driving cars. Did this grow out of that, or is that a separate topic?
That's a separate piece, but we're really excited about this opportunity. What the Knight grant does is talk about how can the community, how can the public be a part of autonomous vehicle information, understanding, direction, And so we'll be working some of the relationships that have arisen through the development of this executive order and the testing guidelines are something that will really serve the work with the Knight Foundation. Again, that's really focused at how can we, again, demystify the technology, how can we make the public really a part of this evolution together with the industry, and really advance that in the city and that dialogue that's going on.
All right, thanks everybody.